Hi, Kevin from the Awareness website again, and we got another video with Classroom Classics 2. Had some great stuff come up in class this week. We're going to talk about whether you have the heel touching, the toe touching, or whether the foot's completely flat. And also, a great question came up about which direction you look when you do whip to one side. So we're going to talk about all that. Hang in there, we'll be right back. Alright, so let's get going with this week's edition here, Classroom Classics 2. A couple of things that come up, and there's a number of moves in the set where you're either putting the heel down or you've got the toe down, and that seems to be a little bit confusing for people when they're just starting. And I want to talk about that a little bit just to clarify how that all works. So in moves like whip to one side, which is basically the first move that you come up to where you're just putting the toe down. When you do that, there is no weight on it. So for example, when you come around from the two-handed push from Grassbird's tail, you pivot around and you place the left toe slightly ahead of the other one and stand up and do your whip to one side. The heel is just slightly lifted, so you don't want it way up in the air, and you don't want it so that there's weight on it. You want all the weight in the back leg so that you've just got the toe touching for balance. So the heel is like you would have a sheet of paper that you could slide under the heel. Sometimes I talk about it in terms of you're holding a mouse down by his tail. So you want to keep it down, but you don't want to put any weight on it to squish his tail. You're just holding him in place by putting your foot on his tail. And all the weight is in the back leg. When you stand up, this toe is touching just for stability, but then you're going to relax back down, step out, and then go forward with the rest of the whip to one side. Moves like raise hands, step up. Same kind of idea, except you're coming from the whip to one side, you shift back, toe turns in, so you pivot on the heel, stand up on the left leg, and then you put your right heel out in front. So it's not too far out, it's just a half step in front, so slightly in front of the other foot, and the toe is slightly lifted. And what that does is it allows you to sit back and keep both knees bent. So when you come into raise hand, step up, all your weight sits back in the hips and the front knee bends and the toe is up. But you don't want to lift it up really high because then the leg gets straightened and you can't sit down. So you let it relax so you can sit down, and it's just slightly lifted. Again, it's for stability to stabilize the hips when you sit down. And then you go into the next move, White Stork Spreads Wings. And again, the same thing. With whip to one side, you've got this one foot on either side of the imaginary line, so the left toe is touching, all your weight is on the back foot. When you go into White Stork Spreads Wings, it's the same thing, is when you shift across, and then you have your weight balanced in the right leg, so you place your left toe, and it's exactly the same position as whip to one side. Then you push out of the back leg and stand up for Stork Spreads Wings. Again, you should be able to tap that foot. There should be no weight in it, so you don't want to be leaning forward into that foot so you can't lift it. All the weight's in the back leg so that you can tap that foot, but the back leg expresses up. So you express upwards, and you relax down to take the next step. Now the rest of the time throughout the set, anytime you're pushing forward, extending out, your feet will be flat on the floor. For example, when you go into even the very first move, the opening of Tai Chi, the hands come up, they come down, you pivot on the right heel, and you pivot on the left toe, get the heel back. Now as that heel goes back, the arms extend and the weight relaxes into here, but you need that back foot flattened. A lot of times people will lift up out of that foot to push forward. You want to get the weight to relax down so that back heel is expressing backwards, and that's what gives you that equal and opposite expression with between the arms and the legs. And in any other move, whether it be left grass bird's tail, you're expressing forward, that back heel is staying on the floor. So you're expressing out, and it does not lift until you stand up into the front leg. And you relax, step out, and it's the same thing. Any of those moves, whether you're doing brush knees, same kind of idea, is you're going to come down, push forward, and that back leg extends, pushing that back heel into the floor behind you. So the feet are flat and your weight is relaxing down, flattening the feet out. If your knee extends too far, then the front heel starts to come up and your weight goes into the ball of the foot, and that also means that the weight is pushing into your knee. So you want to keep that foot flat on the floor so that your weight is balanced, so everything can settle down into that foot. So you're expressing from the back foot, so that foot has to be flat on the floor. You're relaxing into the front foot, so that foot has to be flat on the floor. As you go through the set, you'll start to get the idea of where your weight needs to be balanced and everything, and we'll talk about that more down the road. And that brings us to another question that was brought up in this week's class at Thursday night. One of the students was asking, and it's a very good question, which direction do you look when you do whip to one side? Generally speaking, whenever you're expressing outwards, so when you're pushing forward into a brush knee, or whether it's the opening of Tai Chi, so you're looking straight forward, you pivot. Now the right hand is going forward, so that's my direction, so I'm looking in that direction. When I stand up and then step into left grass bird's tail, I'm still looking in that direction until I start to move forward, and then I will look in the direction that I'm expressing. Now whip to one side has two directions when you come around for it. So from the grass bird's tail, the two-handed push part of grass bird's tail, you're going to come around. Your gaze follows with the pivot. So you're expressing to that corner, you relax back. Now when I stand up, I push in the back leg, my right arm goes out to the right side, and you can look in the direction that you're expressing here, but then when you relax down, you're going to turn and look forward. So generally you want to be looking in the direction you're expressing. So if that arm is going out to the side, you're going to come around, stand up, and look in that direction, and then relax again. But it's not a real fixed thing, but it just helps with the alignment of the spine. If you're at the end of the class and you're kind of not sure of the moves and you're going through the move and you just happen to be looking behind you to see what somebody else is doing, it's really giving your spine a bit of a twist. So try and get used to the idea, and if you're not comfortable with being on the end, put yourself in the middle of the class. If you're just practicing on your own and you're watching us on your video or on your TV screen or something, try and see what you need to do first, and then practice it, getting the alignment proper so that you're looking in the direction you need to, and then go back to the video and double check it. Try not to be watching the video as you're doing the moves, because it'll make it a little bit hard to keep your spine lined up and turning in the direction it should. Hope that all helps. If you've got any comments or any other questions or anything, be sure to get in touch with us by email on the website or through the YouTube channel. And that being said, check out our website, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you again. Bye.